Shalom, shalom. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Barakatam. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. It's Brother Yatazadak back once again with another live lesson. As always, giving all honor and glory unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles. Salaki. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. We are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Great Millstone, Hebrew Israelite camp, has 100% truth. Right? We are in the latter days. We are the 12 tribes of Israel, which consists of the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. The so-called white man is Esau Edom, a twin brother of a man named Jacob. Jacob is part of the seed line, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which consists of the Israelites, which are the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, the chosen. Genesis 25:25 says Esau Edom came out all red like a hairy garment. It's talking about the so-called white man, the wicked of the earth, the son of perdition, the son of destruction. All right, we are in Rome all over again. This is a revitalized Roman Empire. Code name America Babylon the Great. The Most High God is going to bring World War III, thermonuclear fire upon America Babylon the Great. 2/3 of the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans will be coerced into taking the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. You're going to perish in the time of Jacob's trouble, which we're in Jacob's trouble, but you'll know when shit gets real. It's like when it gets real. All right. So the Lord has called back the remnant to wake up and repent and seek Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai while he still may be found. Yahweh is his name. It's not Jehovah. It's not Yahuwah. It's Yahweh. Ba'ashem means in the name in the ancient Hebrew language, which is the language of the Bible, mainly the Old Testament. Yahushai Hamashayach is who you call Jesus Christ. It's not Yeshua. It's not Yahushua. His name is Yahushai Hamashayach. In the original language, in the native language of the Hebrews, which we are the Hebrews, we are the Israelites, we are the children of the prophets. All right. You have some of us that look like other nations, meaning some of us look so-called Japanese, some of us look like so-called Arabs. But the seed is according to the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So our children look like other nations because we took wives of the other nations in times past, and they have taken on their likeness. So we're not judging carnally, we're judging according to the Spirit. And right, so that's pretty much it. I don't want to keep these introductions too long. How about Shemel Shai Brakatham to the 144,000 and the great multitude that will be delivered out of America Babylon the Great. All right. We say peace and blessings upon you and your loved ones. All right. And Lord willing, you're edified. All right. So we're going to get right into it. This is Jeremiah chapter 24. The header of this chapter is baskets of figs, Salakia, and the returnees, which let's start off at verse 1. Verse 1 says, he showed me, ha, meaning he, ra'ah, naya, meaning Salakia, showed me. Salakia. The Lord, and behold, 2 baskets, which is Dad Aya or Salakia, Dadaya, right? Because sometimes you'll read this word as Dawad, which means David. David means uncle. Dawad, or sometimes it's read as Dad, means beloved. It also means mandrakes. That same word is used. Dadya, mandrakes. And also it means basket. All right. Which that root word means or Salakia, the letter, that symbol means door. Da, door, wa, tent peg, da, door. All right. So it says a basket of figs, ta'anyum, ta'ana, meaning fig. Um, they were appointed. Ya'ad means appointed, because in the law, sometimes you read appointed as ya'ad. Um, so ma'adia means appointed before the temple hayakal of the Lord, after he had removed Hagalath, Nebuchadnezzar, Nabokadar, Atazar, which Elder Apostle Har says Nebuchadnezzar, which reminds me of that meme, that Chad meme, Chad meme, you know, which that guy kind of looks like Arab, you know, and because that's what these various Babylonians, Arameans, they come from these particular um what do you call them, Shemitic tribes. All right, you got to remember Shem had sons as well. He had 5 sons. One of them was Elam. One of them was Aram, Uz, and so on and so forth. All right, which now in the modern world they're just called Arabs. And then you have Ishmaelites that come from Ishmael. All right, which go back to Abraham. Abraham had 2 sons, Isaac, Ishmael. All right. And the Aramites always had beef with the Israelites. Same with these other Ishmaelite tribes, um, which the Edomites had beef with Israel as well. Well, the Ishmaelites had beef with Isaac because he was the chosen, you know. And that's that spirit in these heathen. They got a mocking spirit, they got a get back spirit on them, you know, because the Lord always loved us, even though we went off, even though we, you know, um, not that there was no favor given to these particular tribes like the Ishmaelites, you know, because our forefather Abraham, he said, um, said, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee, you know. So that was like his saving grace, you know. And the Lord blessed them and multiplied them in the sense that, they dwell amongst their brethren. They got their own societal thing going amongst these other Semitic tribes, because the Lord made it that way. All right, because if the Lord just let Esau do away with everything, some of these ancient customs would be basically done away with. And Esau would basically say, I was the Ishmaelite. I was the because he says he's everything else. The first man, the caveman. You know, so there had to be a force behind these other nations, which is on the left hand side, for them to be preserved. For you know, uh, like the Moabites, the Ammonites, um, which are called Orientals, Asiatic peoples, which we're really bunched up in that type of label, Asiatic peoples. Because when you look at some of these Peruvians, some of the, even the South American tribes. I mean, amongst the South American tribes, we have it, we have that Asiatic origins because we come from, right, that same lineage, right? Ishmael, which they call them Middle Eastern. There's no such thing as a Middle East. There's Northeast, Southwest. Asiatic is dealing with a whole continent. All right, and which is you have Moab, the Ammonites. Moab is the Chinese. Ammonites is the Japanese. They still have particular traditions that go that go back to the fact to where their women still have their women are still they have their women in order. They deal amongst their own people, which is really what we should be doing. Well, we do to a certain level, but there's always been a division amongst the tribes because especially with the Southern Kingdom or Slovakia, the Northern Kingdom, it's always okay. Where you from? You're from this. Oh, well, you know. So, but the Lord made that all happen just so there could be preserve particular ways and manners of life. Not that we're saying that the ways of the heathen are right, because right now they're not in the right mind, you know. But we're not in our right mind. But at the end of the day, and I think this what this chapter is dealing with is basically the Lord bringing back the remnant. Let's read on down. Actually, I don't want to get too deep. Um, so let's see what it says down here. Verse 7 says, "And I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people, and I'll be their God." Which you read about in other chapters. You read about the stony heart, the fleshly heart, the stony heart taken away, the fleshly heart being given, which is really going into something deeper, like the changing of the body. When we get the new bodies, when we get delivered, right? When we get the laws put on our inward parts. But that starts with us waking up and pushing into the kingdom. All right, the Israelites, that is, because you heathens, even in the kingdom, you're still going to go off, but we're going to be there to keep things in check. All right. as faithful stewards, you know. And that's what the Apostle Ramlab recently touched on, that that unjust steward parable, and I went into that as well, you know, because to basically it is talking about Esau, because there's scriptures where it talks about Israel, but then it talks about Esau, like when the Lord said, though thou dig into Carmel, I will take thee out, right? Uh, which was talking about Jake when he was taken out of the land, but it applies to Esau when he builds these underwater and underground fortresses, right, to hide himself from the Third World War III. So that parable of the unjust steward, you can apply it to Esau, right? And it's talking about Jake as well, you know, because when you look at it, there's even in the book of Saint Luke, I believe it's one of the latter chapters. It talks about the unjust judge and the widow, the unjust judge being the Most High, the widow being the remnant, the elect, praying to the Most High to be avenged of our enemies. All right. So unjust, you know, don't let that make you think it's automatically not talking about Jake. All right. Just like when you read about particular centurions, you know, like the centurion that took Paul the apostle and saved him from the Jews from almost killing him. You know, it doesn't really specify if he was Jake or not, but he was in captivity and he bought his freedom. He told Paul the apostle, I bought my freedom with a great price. You know, but you got to keep in mind there was other nations dwelling uh, amongst the Romans during that time. So you can't just apply it to one. It depends on, you know, what you're reading. You know, you got to have spiritual discernment. You know, so the unjust steward, right? Ultimately, going back to that parable in the book of Saint Luke, the unjust steward ultimately is the whole nation of Israel. All right, and then it applies to Esau too. You can apply it to Esau to an extent as well. You know, like I said, you know, sometimes these parables, dark sayings, like when you read in the book of Sirach, where Scripture says that, or in the book of Psalms, when the Lord said, "What hast thou to do to declare my covenant?" Which you can't say that's really talking about Esau, because I was talking about the Pharisees that were going off. You know, they're being hypocrites, just like in the book of Sirach. It says let us try him whether he be the son of God, because he offended us by this law, which was talking about the Pharisees, but it applies to Esau too, because Esau doesn't understand what righteousness is. You know, so that unjust steward, we all went off, like the prophet Isaiah said, right? That our righteousness is as dirty rags, which goes into something else as well. But you know, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be all over the place when I'm trying to get into these particular parables and dark sayings, similitudes, and whatnot. Um, the unjust steward, it is talking about the nation of Israel, all right, which the remnant, just like Matthew chapter 25, all right, St. Matthew, let's get that real quick. St. Matthew 25, right, you have the five wise virgins, the five foolish. All right. And then you have Matthew chapter, what is it, 15? No, that's not it. Salakia. What is it? The parable of the talents. This is why it's good to do reviews. You know, it's in the same chapter, Matthew 25. All right. You have the unjust steward, which let's get that real quick. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. St. Luke. You know, Luke chapter 16, right? So you have the rich man, which had a steward, which was shy, just like you read about in the book of Songs of Solomon, right? The vineyard, right, and the pieces of silver, which is Yahushua, which is the word, all right, which goes into the parable of the talents as well, all right, because the Lord, Salakia, because why were we the stewards? We were given the laws. We were placed in our own land, in the land of Israel, and ultimately, Jake went off. We went off as a whole, you know, as a nation, you know, which is why scriptures say that the Lord does not have respect of persons, right? So on a certain level, the Lord may deal with an individual, like when the Lord is dealing with the elect and with the 2/3, right? He's going to cause a division, but during particular times, the Lord deals with nations as a whole as well, which is um, like I said, Jake was given the laws, placed in their own land, and they didn't do what the Lord commanded to get rid of all the Canaanites. All right. So that's when we wasted his goods. It even says in the book of I believe that's the book of Ezekiel, where the Lord said, it might be Ezekiel, I might be right, or I might not be right. Or actually that's Hosea. The book of Hosea, the Lord said, you have taken my oil and offered it to Baal, which he was talking about the northern kingdom, but southern kingdom did that as well. All right. So that's how we wasted his goods. We turned back and right, we backslided and so on and so forth. But now the Lord has given account of the stewardship in the form of the elect, the remnant. All right, with those that are waking up, return to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Because the Lord is saying, like it says here, for thou mayest be no longer a steward, because we're going to be joint heirs with Yahweh Shai. It's not no longer going to be that we're going to be working for him, because working for him means we're still working towards the kingdom. All right. So that's why the steward said, what shall I do? Lord, take it away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig, to beg I am ashamed. All right. Which is 2/3, that's the mindset. You know, that what are we gonna do? We don't know what to do. All we know is the world. You know? To beg, I am ashamed. So 2/3 they don't want to they don't want to go through suffer for righteousness' sake. All right. Verse 4 says, I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. All right. Which is you go into that precept that speaks about the all and the man that loves his master and he chooses to become a slave forever, takes the all right through the ear and becomes that master slave forever. All right. Verse 5, so he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much owest thou to my Lord? Which is the remnant, right? Because of the Lord's debtors are those, like when you have an economy, you're dealing with amongst those that are around you, right? The U.S. economy deals with the U.S. economy. All right, you got what's called GDP, and so on and so forth. All right, purchasing power and whatnot. All right, so that's what we're saying amongst Sheikh. Basically, what kind of service do you owe the Lord back in order to be bought back? Because you're already bought back via Yahushua, but it's not just about faith; it's about works. So you got to work. We're working back, which is not just through faith, not just through believing, but through action, like says Romans chapter 4, to come back into graces, right? To be basically justified. All right. Because there's an action behind belief, which is why Paul the Apostle said to be justified in your sayings, justified by practicing what you preach, which is living by the gospel. All right. That's Paul the Apostle said as well. All right. So verse 6 says, and he said 100 measures of oil, and he said unto him, take thy bill, sit down quickly and write 50. This is about consolidation, because when you owe it that, you can either, if you don't pay a debt, you have someone else that buys the debt, and in an attempt to collect. All right, that's what we're doing. We're spiritually collecting. We're spiritually collecting money from the Jake who woke up. All right, because we're collecting money, we're giving money, and we're supposed to do something with that money, but we're also collecting money because scriptures say that they spoke often one to another. All right. So we're collecting money. We're building amongst each other. That's how you build. You got to have, in order to build a building, you got to have funding. You got to have, all right, you got to have investors. All right. And we're as an economy, you invest amongst yourselves, right? Which is trade, and when you want to build a park or, all right, an apartment complex, you get amongst. This is what the small hats do. They get amongst their own people, right? And they create pools, funding pools. Same with the politicians. All right. So these are our attempts to consolidate, which is why Paul the Apostle said, via the consolidation of the ministry, something to that effect. All right. Which is, right, and this is why the rich man, which is the Lord, which is why it says Lord, all right, commanded the unjust steward So the Lord isn't commending Esau, all right? But again, in a particular sense, you can apply that to Esau, but why did the Lord commend the unjust steward? Why? Because he had done wisely. Because even it says, if you read on down, it says to make yourself of friends of the mammon of righteousness. All right. So it says the unjust steward, he commended him because the children of this world are in their generation wiser than children of light. Because even in the book of Genesis, the Lord said you can eat out of the trees of the garden, meaning know the philosophies, but not actually follow after those philosophies. All right. He just gave us knowledge of these things in order for us to have insight. All right. For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than children of light. All right. So we use the world, we don't abuse it. Right. We stay focused on the ministry. All right. And I already went over the other verses. I'm not going to go over it again. Right. And verse 12 just talks about us being blameless, just being wise, moving in wisdom in these latter days. Right, verse 13, no servant can serve two masters. Right, and so on and so forth. So verse 14, Yahushua uh, directed this to the Pharisees because they weren't doing the right thing with the Lord's money, which they had that money back then as well, and they weren't doing the right thing. Right, so and they heard it, and they didn't like what they were hearing. Just like when Yahushua said during the time of Elijah, there was no man sent unto amongst the children of Israel except Naaman the Syrian, which that word Naaman means faithful Syrian. He was a heathen, but that's an example that the Lord gave because when you go into the law and the blessings of the first fruits, we were called Syrians, meaning, right, our people dwelt in the Fertile Crescent amongst these other Semitic tribes, right? And we would take wives that out of that same line as Eber and whatnot. Um, so that's why basically I was talking about the remnant. There were so many examples. Yahushua was just kind of because of these Pharisees were claiming to be deep. So Yahushua had to get deep and kind of cut them to the heart when he brought up that when he's brought up about Naaman the Syrian, all right, which is by interpretation faithful Syrian, right? Because we were known as sort of Syrians because we dwelt in that part of the earth, right, in the time of Abraham, all right. Um, so verse 15, Yahweh said, "You are they which justify yourselves before men, but God knoweth your hearts." Right, which is so Yahweh he spoke about the unjust steward because ultimately he ended up doing right. All right, but the Pharisees and that same Pharisee spirit is back in IUIC. They're not gonna do right. They're gonna keep doing the same thing that they did back then. Deliver up Yahweh, deliver up his servants, sellouts. They're in their lot. All right. And Yahweh was taking shots at them. All right. which is why there's other examples. We read on down, but we're not going to go into all that, you know. So the unjust steward, the Lord was talking about the elect, all right, because we wasted his goods as a whole, and he was talking about in particular verses, right? Like verse 3, the Lord was talking about 2/3. All right. The Lord called them weak. They cannot dig, like they cannot labor. To beg, I am ashamed, you know, which they don't want to be brought low, right? They didn't want to be brought low. There's men right now that would rather sell out in order to keep their position, to keep a status, to keep their status, which the Lord is not dealing with status during this time. All right, but anyways, so they were cut. Jeremiah 24:6. Or Salakia. Verse 1. Salakia, verse 1 says, He showed me the Lord, and behold, 2 baskets of figs appointed before the temple of the Lord. Afterwards, he had removed Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, unto Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, and unto the princes of Judah, and unto the carpenters, which is Karash, which really means artificer. And a carpenter is an artificer to an extent, you know, because they take out measurements, they build forms, all right, help fortify particular structures, build walls, all right. That's what a carpenter does. All right, I know that from experience. You know, I know a little something, something, you know. And unto the smiths, Masagar, which let's look at that word for smith, a worker in metal, right? Basically like a welder. Because cigar means to shut in, to shut out. All right, that's what you do. You right, you weld these metals together or apart. You know. And the smiths from Jerusalem, and he brought them unto Babylon, which reads Ha Ra'ah Naya Yahweh Wahana Shanya the Aya the Aya the Anayim Ma'adyam Lapanya Hayakol Yahweh Akarya Hagalath Nabakadar Atazar Malak Babal Athah Yakan Yahweh Bun Yahweh Yakwayim Malak Yahweh Wa'ata Sharia Yahweh Wa'ata Hacharash Wa'ata Hamasagar Ma Yerushalayim Waya Ba'am Babal. So it says the basket one was figs that were goodly, even exceedingly, like unto the figs of the first fruits. And the basket one, meaning the other basket of figs, was evil exceedingly, like that which is not able to be eaten because from or Salakia, because of its evil, or basically it would be read as of its evil, as in on account of it, on account that it's exceedingly evil. All right, Salakia, I'm trying to get situated. Bear with me 1 second. Which reads, Hadawad, Chad, Tha'anyam, Tabath, Ma'ad, Ka, Tha'anya, Ha Bakarath, Wahad, Dawad, Chad, Tha'anyam, Ra'ath, Ma'ad, Ashor La'a, Ta'akalna, Marai. Which this is talking about the righteous men that the Lord, right, caused to get carried away, right, by Nebuchadnezzar. They were preserved, like Daniel, the prophet Daniel, the three holy men, and other men that are not mentioned. And those men that were called to be removed to captivity and destroyed, put to death, like Zedekiah and whatnot. And you can apply this to future prophecy as well. You could say that's, because we can use particular verses to teach doctrine, right? Like Paul the Apostle said, he said, all the word of the Lord is good for doctrine and reproofs. Just like recently I was reading about the book of Ezekiel, right? There was the two eagles, and it goes into let's get that real quick, because I got an app right here where I can kind of let me see if I what is it, Ezekiel chapter 17, which goes into which it says, put forth a riddle, speak a parable unto the house of Israel. Right, there's an eagle with great wings, full of feathers, diverse colors. And took the highest branch of the cedar, which is talking about the nobles of the Jews. Right, he set him to the city of merchants. Right, placed him as a willow tree, and the branches turned towards him. The roots were under him, meaning the Lord didn't just destroy all of the nobles. He preserved some of them, you know. But those that did wickedly, he caused them to be put to death. Which is why it says the branches, verse 7. There was another great eagle with great wings and many feathers, and behold, this vine did bend their roots towards him and shot forth their branches towards him. Because you have the Babylonians, Persians, and the Medes. All right. So that's talking about a particular man being preserved. All right. To either for the slaughter, to be destroyed in Babylon, and some were right, they were preserved, some of the nobles. Because the base of the land, the common people, there were some that were left in Jerusalem to till the ground for the Babylonians. All right. So let's see. So that's pretty much it. That's what it's talking about. Um, so like, yeah, just bear with me 1 second. Trying to get situated. Ah, whew. Just bear with me 1 second, Hakim. All right, Salakia. So it says Had, Dawad, Lachad, Ta'anyam, Taba, Ma'ad, Ka, Ta'anya, Ha Bakarath, Waha, Dawad, Lachad, Ta'anyam, Ra'ath, Ma'ad, Ashar, La'ah, Ta Kalna Marai. Verse 3 says, And he said, The Lord unto me, What dost thou see, Jeremiah? And I said, Figs, figs good, um, even good exceedingly, and evil, evil exceedingly, which cannot be even eaten on account of their evil. Why Amar Yahweh Aliyah Ma Atha Ra'ah Yaram Yahweh Wa Amar Ta'anyam Ha Ta'anyam Ha Tabath Tabath Ma'ad Waha Ra'ath Ra'ath Ma'ad Ashar La'ah Ta'akolna Marai. Verse 4 says, And it came to pass the word of the Lord unto me to say, Why Yahaya the bar Yahweh Aliyah La Amar, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, like unto the figs good, these, so shall I acknowledge unto those that are carried away of Judah, which I have sent out from the place this, unto the land of the Chaldeans for good, as in for their good. Ka Amar Yahweh, Alahaya Yashar Allah, Ka Ta'anyam, Ha Tabath, Ha Alha, Kan Kayar, Atha, Galath, Yahawada, Ashar, Shalachtaya, Mun, Hamaquam, Hazah, Arataza, Kashadium, La Tabah. Verse 6 says, and I will place into my eyes upon them for good, and will cause them to return upon the land this, and will build them, and they shall not be pulled down, and they shall be planted, and I shall not root them up. Because that word, tachash, or shalakya, nathash, Slakia, bear with me, being a super Jew. Tachash, chadash, inside joke. Which we're Israelites, you know. Jew pertains to the Judites, which is the southern kingdom. You know, do they not blaspheme that worthy name by the which you were called? That's in the book of St. James. Because those are bywords: Jew, Judite, Christian, which is in the Bible. They're all all these terms are in the Bible. But we are Ma'aim Yashar Allah, meaning of the people of Israel. All right. Or Israelites would be Yashar Aliyah. Kwamyashala! Inside joke. That's what we hear with these other camps, dude. You know, we got to bug out every here and then, you know? So I just put in a little salt in the lesson. So it says, Washam Taya Ayanya Al Yaham La Taba Waha Shabbathium Al Ha'arataza Haza'ath Wabanyathium Wala'a Aharas Wa Nataitayum Wala'a Athasha. Or Salake, Athash, because it's not Tash. All right. Athash, because the feminine form would be Athasha. You see, this is first person common, singular. All right, which is the masculine form. Verse 7 says, and I will give unto them a heart to know me, because I am the Lord. I am the Lord. And it shall be unto me a people, and I shall be, and I shall be unto them for a God, because they shall return unto me and in all their heart, which is the remnant, the Wadi Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, starting with their elders and apostles, the great millstone, Hebrew Israelite camp, the 144,000, right, which are the heads, which are our ancient men, which ancient men, it just means, that's just another way to say elder, right? Because these are men that in times past have held that position. All right. So the ancient men, the men of renown, didn't come back as a damn pizza boy. They didn't come back as a damn you know, as a nobody. They came back as the elders of old, right? Abba Bivens, King Marsha, Elder Yaquab, you know. Great men. Like scripture say, great was the company of them that published the words of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Bashim Rakakwadash. All right. Which reads, Wa Natatya Laham Lab Lata'ath Ataya Kaya Anya Yahweh Wahaya Wa Laya La'aim Wa Anakya Ahaya Laham La Alahayim Kaya Yashabwa Aliyah Bakal Labam. All right. Verse 8 says, And like unto the figs evil, which cannot be eaten on account of their evil, because I said the Lord, so I shall give unto Zedekiah the king of Judah, and unto his princes, and unto those that remain of the remaining of Jerusalem. All right, that remain in the land this, and to the dwellers in the land of Egypt. Waka Tha'anyam Habra'ath Ashor La'a Tha'akalna Marai Kaya Ka Amar Yahweh Khan Athan Atha Tazadak Yahweh Malak Yahweh Wa Atha Sharya Wa Atha Sharya Yerushalayim Ha Nasharyim Ba'aratazah Haza'ath Waha Yeshabyim Ba'aratazah Matazorium. Verse 9 says, And I will give them to be removed. Let's look at that word. It's a Y, which the root is to agitate, to shake off. Which there's another root which goes into let's see if I can find it. Which means to turn back or something to that extent. To be removed, troubled, trouble, vexation, agitation. Turn back. My neck back. Abagadaha wasachataya kalamanasa patata parashata. Anyway, I'm not gonna look it up. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Just means turn back. And I will give it to be turned back onto their pain, onto all of the dominions of the earth, for a reproach and for a proverb and a taunt and a curse, which a taunt is a sharp saying. Shanan means to sharpen. Upon all the places which I shall drive them there. Wa Nathathium, La Zaya, La Raya, Lakal, Ma Malakath, Ha Rataza, La Harpa, Wala Mashal, Lashan Yana, Wala Kwala, Bakal, Hamakwamath, Ashor, Adayacham, Shum. And I will send out upon them unto the sword, unto famine, and unto pestilence, and even until they be destroyed from upon the land which I have given unto them and to their fathers. Woo! That's tough. Because Jake was going the hell off. All right. Sacrificing under every green tree, worshiping idols, just being, right? Jake, you know? So it reads, Wa shalach bum atha ha charab atha ha ra'ab wa atha ha dabar ad thamam ma'al ha adama ashor natathya laham wala abathayaham. All right. So with that, this is Jeremiah chapter 24, going into the Hebrew. The Salakia, this brother Yatazadak, hero of Israel. And as always, Lord willing, you were edified, giving all honor and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, Kwam Yasha Allah, Abad Babal, and Shalom.